I'm going to start by cutting out the circles on this page. So now I have my circles and I'm just going to place them in here, and this is going to be the wreath. So I just want to make sure that I'm working in the middle of the fabric. And I place the big one in there in the center. And then this is just a water soluble pen, but you can use chalk. I'm just going to trace it, and I want a pretty good outline because I'm going to be using it a lot. All right, and then I'm going to place the smaller circle inside, try to center it, and then repeat. All right, so I have my outline. Now what I'm going to do is open my hoop, so just twist this guy to make it pretty loose. I don't want to pull the pin all the way out, just loose. Place the hoop without the hardware on the table. And then try to center it as best you can. And then I'm just going to push straight down. I'm kind of opening it like this. I'm pushing straight down so that my fabric is taut. As you can see, my first try, it's not really even. So I'm just going to pull the fabric towards the side that's further away from, the outline is further away from the edge. If it's too far off, just pull out the fabric and try again. And you can kind of start to tighten it so that it will keep its shape. All right. That looks pretty good. So I'm just going to tighten it as far as it'll go, making sure that the fabric is nice and taut. And there we go. All right, so now I'm going to take my first piece of string and tie a knot at the end. Like that. You could double knot if you don't feel like that knot's big enough, but I think it'll be fine. And then I'm going to thread my needle. So now that I have my needle threaded, I'm I might start by just pulling the thread through a bit so that I have a shorter piece of thread to work with. So as I'm working, the needle only goes in on the outside circle that I've drawn. The inside I'm going to use as a stencil to know how far across to go. So I'm just going to pick a random spot on the outside line, pull my thread all the way through, and then I'm going to hold the thread across, and it's hard to see, but basically my outline of the inside circle is right here. So I'm placing it right on the outside circle, and then I'm seeing where it falls on the outline over here. And then I'm just going to put my needle through where that was. It doesn't have to be perfect. And pull through. So now I have a thread going from the outside to the outside, and the middle of the thread is touching the inside line of my inner circle. Now I'm just going to place the thread pretty close to where I went in, just to save thread. And I'm going to do the same thing, going across there, pull it through, and basically now you're just going to repeat. Cross, that's good. So I'm just going to continue doing this. I might need to start a new thread, and then I'll check back. Alright, so I'm about to tie off my first string, but I just wanted to show you my progress so far. So as you can see, some pieces are going to be naturally more together at the beginning, just because when you go across it's a bit of a square. So when I start my new string, I'll just start in a place where there isn't as much, and sometimes you'll have to go one way, sometimes the other, so it's not like you need to go in the same direction every time. So now I'm just going to show you how to tie off your string, and then you'll just start the new one in the same manner that you started. Okay, so I'm looping the string under an existing piece and then pulling the needle through the loop to form a knot. And if you're happy with that, perfect. If you want to do a second one, you can. And then I'll just cut it close to put the next string on there, tie a knot at the end, and start again. Alright, so what I've done is I've finished with all my string, and I've just placed my sequins where I want them. I spread them out, and I went every other silver and red, and tied my little ribbon in a bow, and I just put everything out so that I know where it's going to go. And then I'm going to take a toothpick and just dab it in glue, and then put a little glue on the back of each sequin and glue it down. Alright, so now that my glue has dried, what I'm going to do is string my needle and then turn over my work. So now what I'm going to do, and if you want, you can kind of trim, not super close, but the corners off. so that it's more even. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the right side of the fabric and put the needle through. I didn't tie off the end. You can if it makes you feel better, but I'm just going to leave a little tail and then just big long stitches all the way around. And I'm working about 3/4 of an inch, I guess, away from the hoop. Doesn't really matter. Right. So I want to end not super close to my original stitch, just a stitch length away, I guess, and on the right side again. Now what I'm going to do is gather, so pull both ends of the string together like that, so that they all come together, and then tie a knot, just a single knot at first, so that you can get it tight. And then you might want to borrow a friend's finger or try to do it yourself. Just tie a second knot. Get it as tight as possible. Like everything else, just take some patience. All right, going to cut my ends, and I'm all done. I finished work. I've got my sequins glued on. Everything's good. And you can hang this from a nail, or you could put a ribbon through it to make it a ornament, whatever you feel like.